Corned beef is made from the brisket, and the brisket can take a long time to cook. So this will take about 3 to 4 hours, if not more, depending on the size of your meat. So to start, you want to take a pot and put your meat into the pot. To this, you're going to add cold water. And the reason why we do this is to prevent displacement of the water. So if you add your water and then add your meat's going to displace the water and then it could overflow. So by putting the meat in first and then covering it with water and then covering it with like an extra 2 to 3 inches of water, you'll ensure that you have enough liquid in the pan to cook the corned beef. So then you're going to remove your beef and then you're going to add 2 tablespoons or so of your pickling spice. You're going to bring this liquid up to a boil. Once it's at a boil, you're going to add your meat in and then turn it down to a simmer. Once it's to a simmer, you're then going to cook your meat for approximately 3 hours, sometimes longer. We'll put the lid back on to help regulate the temperature. To know when the beef is done, you're going to take a fork and you're going to pry into it and see if it's fork tender. So if you see what I'm doing here, I'm able to pry the meat apart very easily. Once I have this done, I need to slice it. And corned beef is very interesting. Depending on the cut you have, there's 2 parts, one called the flat, one called the point. This is the flat here. Everyone always says to cut against the grain when you're cutting meat. So what the grain is are these strands that you see kind of moving left to right in a upward diagonal direction. So we want to cut across that, perpendicular if you will. So the best way to do that is actually to cut this on an angle starting at the bottom left corner of the brisket. The way I'm moving my knife up is kind of how I'm going to slice this meat. Now once I'm slicing, you can see that it is shredding just ever so slightly. If I were to cut with the grain, the meat would just shred apart and we wouldn't really have any texture. If you have the point cut, which is a larger piece, just take a look at the grain and make sure you cut against it. Hopefully this is what your corned beef looks like, and once we have it cut, we're ready to enjoy.